want to welcome everybody to day four of our virtual real estate rerun. Yay! Exactly. We are about to get things started. Like I said, we have a great agenda for today. What we're going to see. We have about 5 sessions. They all came from the general sessions of the Inman Connect Now virtual conference. So all of these that we're going to look at today came from the general session. Again, it was like 25 hours of content that Inman Connect Now is their first virtual conference, a conference they typically do in San Francisco, but because of the COVID-19 and our current environment, we're not able to have an in-person event. So they did it all virtually, and it was still great content, great information. And what I decided to do was take the top 15 sessions that I felt were the most relevant to my realtors here at Brooks and Davis, my 52 realtors, my 20 affiliate members, so the people that's a part of our organization, the top 15 information sessions that I felt had the best relevant information to do a replay of in this event right here. And I've also offered commentary based off of what we've seen. So it's been a phenomenal event. We're looking at packaging it together to see maybe if we can do something as far as on our YouTube channel, like replays or whatever, so people can still experience our first ever virtual real estate rerun volume 1. With that being said, I'm about to jump into our first session of the day. Again, we're going to be looking at riding the surge, navigating real estate's upheaval. We're going to get some data specific from information from a real estate strategist. So let me go ahead and position, share my screen, and then we'll get this one going. All right, let's see. Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, great to be here. Always love speaking at Inman, and it's my pleasure to do this virtually this time around. So last time I was at Inman was back in January, and that's when we could kind of all get together, and I was up on stage surrounded by thousands and thousands of people. Now I'm working from my home office, surrounded by my family, and they know probably more than they need to know about iBuyers and real estate portals to be helpful for them. But here we are. So last time I was on stage, I had this quote: "The industry's moving very slowly, but it's never moved this fast." And again, this was back in January before all of this happened, and you can see like this quote has never been more true than it is now. Things are moving super fast in the industry. I've over the past couple of months, I've been tracking data and looking at what's going on, and I think there's a lot of activity. Right? There's a lot of activity, a lot of stuff is changing, not only in the disruptors, the fast movers, but just the real estate market in general, and not just nationally, but also internationally. So the biggest thing kind of occupying my time and what I was spending a lot of time on here is looking at what's going on. Like, what effects is the pandemic having, has had, is having, and will have on the real estate market all over the world. And there's this interesting dip, so I did a webinar a little while back, and I held up this homemade graph. And that really illustrates it, right? There's a dip in new listing volumes and real estate transactions from the pandemic. There's a drop, we're at the bottom, and that can be
what you're missing.
And then there's a recovery.
All right, go to the link.
So that theme
register
is
for the event.
What I'm focusing on now, and
access to
what
this
I want to share
information.
some data on.
The link is in my description.
Want to tell
All right,
everybody.
Facebook. Talk to you later.
So when I think about this right now, the most important way that I think about it is supply and demand. If I think about what's going on in the market, what's happened, what's going on right now, and what's going to happen, it's all about supply and demand. And the way that I think about that now is new listings and pending sales. New listings is supply, pending sales is demand, because those are changing over time. I think those are both high intent lead indicators of activity in the U.S. real estate market and internationally as well. The fact they're high intent is really important. You can look at website traffic or leads, but those are low intent. Those are real top of the funnel. Think about it another way. We've all been stuck in our houses for 10 weeks. we're tired of where we are, we're sick and tired of our house, we're moving somewhere else. Like everybody's stir crazy. Like, yeah, you're going to go online, you're going to start looking around. So I don't know that that's the best lead indicator for serious home purchasers. So that's why I'm focused on new listings, pending sale. So to start out, we'll start out big, internationally, new listings. You can see here, new listing volumes kind of year over year, 2020 compared to 2019. Across a number of countries, they all took a big hit. Around mid-March when the pandemic was declared, took a big hit. Some countries like the UK and Italy were affected the most. So new listing volumes in those markets plummeted by 70 to 90%. Other countries they adopted more of a intelligent lockdown, like Sweden and the Netherlands, Germany, they really didn't see an impact at all. New listing volumes have been pretty steady. They're up in the Netherlands. They're just starting to go down now in Sweden. But we see the U.S. is kind of right in the middle there. New listing volumes down about 40% or so. But most of the recovery, right? There's an uptick there. So if we dig into the U.S., this is, again, new listing, U.S. listing volumes, kind of this year compared to last year. And you see that same dip, right? Significant dip in March and April, kind of throughout May, we see that recovery, and now things are going back up. So in terms of, the supply side of the equation, the listings are coming back after quite a significant dip. And then if we dive into the U.S., so this is a chart I have up on my website. It's interactive. You guys can play with this, put in any cities, any markets you want. The data is coming over from Redfin. But this chart is showing the number of U.S. markets. It's looking at the new listing volumes in those markets year over year. So what the comparison is. And it starts from when they saw their first decline. So some cities were affected early, some a little bit later. But you see the same general trend, the same general flow here, right? A drop in those new listings over time, various recoveries in the different markets, and now some of them, like some markets like San Fran and Denver, are kind of popping above where they were last year. There's this surge of new listings. You see Philadelphia recovering very strong. You see some of the Texas markets like Austin and Houston never really going too low, but recovering nicely. And you see Los Angeles kind of finally, after 50, 60, 70 days of a drop, getting back up to parity from last year. So that's what's happening in the U.S. If we look at a couple specific markets, we'll start with King County in Washington. One of my favorites to look at. That's the greater Seattle area. That's where the pandemic first hit the U.S. You can see that there's quite a significant drop, right? In 2020, new listing volumes just plummeted down. They've been down for quite a while, especially compared to last year, that line, 2019. And they're starting to recover. But still, as of a couple weeks ago, down 40% compared to last year. That's still a really significant decline after 6-7 weeks at the bottom. Another market I love to look at is Austin in Texas. A lot of those Texas markets weren't affected as significantly as other U.S. markets. If you looked at just the blue line, you might think nothing's changed. It looks kind of the same. It's relatively steady. But when you compare it to last year, the gray line, you do see the decline. So Austin, kind of over there, starting to see an uptick. But again, just a week or two ago, it's still down 18%. So it's still down. It's coming down, but it is improving. And then New York City, probably the hardest hit market in the U.S. So you can see a significant drop in new listing volumes in March, and really just staying at the bottom. Those listing volumes down 76%. That last week I have, but at worst, kind of down 80 to 90%. So it's such a huge drop. Like New York City's been absolutely hammered in a lot of ways. And if you look at new listing, probably one of the worst, the hardest hit in the U.S. I was looking around the other day and I saw this quote from a real estate brokerage. New York's the biggest market, saying real estate's bouncing back strong right now, and we're thriving in this environment. It stood out to me, and I included it here because I don't know that I would use the word bouncing back strong and thriving. If this is thriving or if this is bouncing back strong, I hate to know what challenging or a disaster looks like. So let's not get ahead of our skis. Like this is as opposed to kind of what you hear in the media. So the next part of the equation to look at is demand, right? If we're looking at supply and demand, now we're going to look at demand. And I think the best proxy for buyer demand is pending sales. It's not people looking at a website. It's not people filling out a form. Those are all low intent. I want high intent buyer demand, and that's people going out, looking at houses, making an offer, and having that offer accepted. I think that's the best we have, and that's what I'm looking at. So again, a couple more graphs I've thrown up on my website. You can look at this for any market, but this shows pending sales in 2020. So from the 1st of January up till nearly the end of May for a bunch of markets. And you can see kind of what you'd expect, right? This big dip in March and April, and then starting to recover. I'd like to call your attention to a couple different markets here that I'll pull out. The first are the ones that are recovering strongly. So Houston, Chicago, Tampa, those all stand out to me, right? They've all reached pending sale levels higher than before the pre-pandemic, right? They've all recovered well. You can look at a couple other markets like LA, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. They're all recovering, but they're not at pre-pandemic levels. They're still subdued. They're still low. So sales are improving. In many markets they're improving, but they haven't recovered, right? And some markets are recovering much faster and much quicker than others. Now that's just looking at pending sales over time. What we also need to do is look at it year over year, because we do have this spring uptick in housing activity. So just looking at it on a week-to-week basis doesn't provide a complete picture of the market and what's happening. So if you're out there, you're looking for data, there's tons of data, there's too much data. Look for as many data points as you can. Look for what's happening on a weekly basis, but also compare it to last year, because that's going to give you a really important perspective. So that's what this next chart does, right? This is showing pending sales compared to last year. And you see, again, what you'd expect, this big drop in March, some markets recovering, some markets not recovering. Again, calling out a couple highlights here, you can see Austin and Tampa recovered very strong. So not only are they up on a weekly basis, but compared to last year, they're at a higher level than they were. They're at a higher level today than they were last year, up 10 to 20%. Other markets like San Fran and Philly, they're recovering, absolutely recovering and doing well there, but they're still down year on year. They're still down compared to where they should be or where they were last. So I think this is super interesting. Now, supply and demand. Let's pull it all together. Why is this important? So let's look at both of this. And for me, the ultimate question, there's a lot of people out there looking at different things. And for me, what's kind of keeping me interested and engaged in this is thinking about the rates of increase and looking at, is supply increasing faster than demand? Or is demand increasing faster than supply? Because if you have both of those things, that's a healthy marketplace, right? There's buyers and sellers, and they're going to interact. But if you're missing one, that's an unhealthy marketplace. It's not operating efficiently. There's not enough buyers, or there's not enough sellers. And I'm sure everybody knows markets like that, where the average time on market is 3 days. As soon as a house is listed, it's gobbled up, or a house sits on the market for a year. That's what we're talking about. And for me, looking for the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, that's what I'm paying attention to. So I've plotted some of this stuff out. This is something I'm still actively working on. None of it's really published yet, but this is looking at the supply and demand, kind of the ratio of new listings to pending sales over time to see what's happening. Is more new listings coming to market, or is there more pending sales? And if you're kind of above this line, that's where demand outstrips supply, and below it, there's more supply than there's demand. So that blue line is kind of the 1-to-1 ratio. That means for every new listing coming to market, there's one pending sale in the same period of time. And you can see, markets like Seattle, Austin, super hot, right? There's a lot of demand and there's not enough supply. Other markets like New York and San Fran, a bit of a different story. Buyers, they're still not back. And again, if you kind of plot this out, as I've done, you can see some markets where supply is rising faster than demand, and other markets where demand is rising faster than supply. This is benchmarked against some numbers from last year, so I'm trying to get a complete picture here. It is small. I don't really care if you can see it or not. That's not the point. The point here is supply and demand are changing. They're changing on a daily, week, monthly basis, and it's totally different on every market. So if you see national numbers, it just doesn't matter. I mean, that's national. But if you're in a particular market and you want to know what's going to happen over the next year, you got to be looking at supply and demand and kind of see what happens over time. So to sum up all these market stats, right, and you've been kind of dozing off and you're just paying attention now, here's the key takeaways. New listings, seller demand, the proxy for seller demand, they're recovering in most markets, but they're still down, many markets 10 to 30% from last year. Pending sales, that proxy for buyer demand, that's recovering in most markets as well, but it's still down 20 to 40% from last year. And then lastly, that supply and demand growth, that metric there, that's mixed. It really depends on the market. So that's a key metric to watch going forward. So in speaking of going forward, let's talk about the recovery and what this might look like. So the image that I have in my mind is a river that's been dammed. All right. So if you have a river, you know, there's a flow of water, a steady state flow of water, and that's those are real estate transactions. If you dam it, which is what the pandemic did and the associated lockdowns, that flow stops. And you see that in those graphs, right? When the graphs drop to the bottom, that's what's happening. There's stopping. There's no new listings. There's no pending sales. There's no transaction. So that dam, you know, builds up all that water for 1 to 2 months. And now what's happened is the dam has been released. In every U.S. market, the dam's been released. And there's just this flood of all that backed up water, all that pent up demand. So when you look at the increase in new listings or pending sales, that's a big impact. We're not just kind of getting back to normal. We're dealing with the pent up demand that's been kind of sitting there behind the dam for the past 2 months. And I can illustrate that with some numbers here. So first, this is, again, looking at some of my charts, this is looking at new listing volumes in Pennsylvania and Michigan. And you can see, you know, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, they were all down 70 to 80% for weeks and weeks at a time. But once those restrictions were lifted in Michigan, you see what happened to Detroit and Grand Rapids. Just shot up. That's the surge of all that pent up demand. All these folks that wanted to list their homes but couldn't are now able to get to the market. So there's this huge surge. At the time this graph was made, Philly and Pittsburgh, real estate was still non-essential in Pennsylvania, so they're still at the bottom. But the same thing, you can see it in the updated numbers. They jolt right to the top. If we go international, we look at the UK. So the light blue line here is new listings, new inventory. You can see once the UK shut down the housing market, the new listings are down 80 to 90%. Huge decline. But once the government reopened the market, you see exactly what happens there. Same thing. There's this shot up, right? Because the dam's just been holding all that pent up demand, and now it can finally get to market. And they're going up, you know, quite quickly. And then lastly, we go back to one of my earlier charts looking at new listing volumes internationally. You see Italy here, the light gray line. Italy was in lockdown for 8 or 9 weeks. New listing volumes plummeted by 70, 80%. In the span of 1 week, when restrictions were lifted, they surged right back up to normal levels, just in 1 week. So it shows like that pent up demand in these markets that are locked down hard, whether it's Italy, the UK, Michigan, or Pennsylvania, there's a big surge of new activity. But that surge is just that, it's a surge, right? And if you think of a river being dammed up, that surge of water is temporary, right? That is not the new level there. So that's, right now the dam's been lifted and there's a surge. That's where we are in the US. We don't know what the next month is going to give us, but I think it'd be reasonable to expect we're not going to maintain those levels, and there might be getting back to those new normal levels. So it's going to be super interesting to track that going forward, see what the numbers and the metrics look like over time. Now I want to talk about iBuyers. Every time I'm up on stage, I talk about iBuyers. So I think it's worth talking about what the pandemic kind of is impacting the iBuyer marketplace and what's happening to these companies. So I think 2020 is going to be driven by three key themes for the iBuyer industry. First is surviving the pandemic. This is the pandemic has kind of threatened a lot of business models around the world, in the US, in real estate, and iBuyers are no exception. The second is the path to profitability. This is something I've chatted about for the past year, so it's still true. And the last is this key theme of further integration with the traditional industry. So I'll talk through each one of those briefly. First, in terms of surviving the pandemic, yeah, this is what happens when you can't buy and sell houses. It turns out, iBuyers stopped buying. You cannot be an iBuyer without buying houses. They've all started purchasing again, and they're back active. The key for them is relevancy, right? The world has changed. The real estate market has changed. The iBuyers need to get back to the market and prove that their model is still relevant. They need to prove that it can work, both from a health and safety standpoint, but also from a business model standpoint. So they have to get back to the market. And that's what we're seeing right now is, okay, what fees are people willing to pay in this environment? How many houses can we actually buy? What's the risk we're willing to take? So that's what we're going to be tracking going forward. Second is this path to profitability. So, you know, the iBuying business model is unprofitable, right? I'm not talking on a unit economic basis or in certain markets. You know, if you strip out all your expenses, yeah, you can be profitable. But at a high level, is it a profitable business model? And, you know, it hasn't been. And that's this key question. Can we get there? So a couple of things to note. You know, first off, Zillow's flattened the curve in terms of their losses for their Zillow Offers business. You can see in Q1 2020, which was all pre-pandemic, except for the last 2 weeks of March, its net loss went down. It flattened the curve. Things are starting to improve. That's interesting. And then also looking at Zillow, you can look at their net loss per home for their home segment, and it's continued to drop, right? As they scale up, they get the volumes, things are getting more efficient. So they're losing less money. So is that worth celebrating? It depends. But if you want to get to efficiency and scale, like, yeah, I think it is, it's worth note to see that things are improving over time. But the path to profitability for a lot of the iBuyers has not only revolved around kind of the core unit economics of buying and selling, but also attaching ancillary revenue streams like mortgage, title insurance. If you think about 2019, you know, just last year, it seems like 100 years ago, but in that year, both Zillow and Opendoor launched mortgage and title businesses. You know, so they're serious about it. Opendoor acquired OS National. You know, Zillow acquired a mortgage company and then rebranded that and launched that as Zillow Home Loans. So these aren't kind of miscellaneous things they're doing just to keep busy. These are big initiatives, and we're going to have to see what happens. So that path to profitability is totally dependent on mortgage and title, which is the battleground, I think, of the next 12 to 18 to 24 months here. Everybody's going after that, not just iBuyers. Not everybody can win. There's big incumbents in that space. So what's going to happen? The third theme is the traditional industry and iBuyers kind of continuing to integrate and come together. And what I mean by that simply is, I think over time, iBuyers will look more like traditional brokerages, and the traditional industry will look more like iBuyers. And there's going to be this overlap of services. So, you know, chances are you're going to be able to go to your local agent or broker, and they will give you some sort of instant sale option, whether it's something they're doing or facilitating on behalf of an iBuyer, right? They're going to be giving you all those options. You don't have to go to an iBuyer or a real estate agent. You can kind of go to either one, and they'll give you that whole picture. And then same with iBuyers. I see them kind of tacking back to the traditional industry and saying, call us up and we're going to help you sell your home, buy your home, whatever it is. We're going to help you. We're the one-stop shop for all of that. So lastly, there's so much change going on in the industry. It's happening so fast. I want to talk about what it takes to move from just surviving to thriving. Who's going to win in this market? I got three principles. The first is moving fast. The companies that can move the fastest are best positioned to win and thrive in this environment. As an example, think about you know, virtual tours, the thing everybody can't stop talking about over the past 2 months. So in a pandemic and a lockdown where a week feels like a year, time is really important. So virtual tours, there's companies out there that launched virtual tour solutions in March, and there's some that launched them in May. What does it mean to move fast? It means doing it in March. So the companies that launch something in March, you're moving really fast. Second, invest. Invest if you can, right? Everybody's kind of pulling back and there's layoffs and marketing budgets are being cut. But the companies that are able to actually invest, whether that's hiring, spending more money on marketing, they're going to be able to accelerate out of this faster than everybody else. And the third point is meeting consumer demand. So consumer demand is changing, whether they want virtual tours, or online notarization, whatever it is, you got to meet consumer demand. And the companies that do that better and faster are going to win in this space. So tying all those together, you actually get kind of a nice sentence or an equation, right? You're going to thrive. Companies and individuals and teams will thrive if they can invest and move fast to meet consumer demand. That's the key. The industry's moving fast now. We got to tie all this together. So I'll wrap up today by going back to where I started with this quote, right? From January, the industry is moving very slowly, but it's never moved this fast. Still true today, but I want to amend it a little bit and say this. The industry is moving very fast right now. there's a lot of stuff changing. You know, now it is important to understand even more than ever what's happening, what the impact is, and figuring out what you can do to stay ahead of that curve. Thanks a lot. I'm Mike Del Prete. We'll see you next time, Inman.
All right, Mike Del Prete. Appreciate that, brother. Stop there. All right, so we got some great information from Mr. Mike Del Prete about where the market is moving. And if I had to sum it all up in one word, I'd have to sum it up by saying the industry is moving fast. So you got to move up. You got to move fast too. The reality is that, you know, one of the last things that he pointed out had to do with, let me get to my notes. Let's see. One of the last things he had to say had to do with what larger companies are doing to thrive through this time. And the reality is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can follow the same formula. And that formula is that you got to move fast, you got to invest, and you got to meet consumer demand. So as a realtor, you got to understand that now is not the time to stop investing money into your business, right? Now is not the time to just stay at the house and slow down your activities. And now is not the time not to be paying attention to the consumer. If you follow that formula, not only will they thrive, you'll be able to thrive through it as well. So use it as an opportunity. All right, so with that being said, let's jump into the next session of the day. This is going to talk about different advances in ways to buy a home. And these are ways, in addition to just getting a traditional mortgage, that companies that are out there that are able to facilitate working with people that can't quite qualify for a mortgage, yet it still puts them in a position to where they can purchase a home. So that's what they're going to talk about now with this next session. So let me get it geared up. And we'll get it going.
Guys, it is my pleasure to be here now with Adina Hafetz of Divvy and Vishal Garg of Better. And we're going to be talking about how this moment is impacting financing. So maybe you can both start. Adina, let's start with you by just giving a little introduction to who you are, your company, and also just tell us where you are.
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Adina Hafetz. I'm the CEO of Divvy Homes. Divvy creates homeowners. So what we are is an alternative to a mortgage for those who maybe can't access a mortgage today. And what we let you do is we pick out a home, we'll purchase it on your behalf. We'll let you then rent the home back from us for up to a period of 3 years. And during that period, we charge you market rate rent. And then on top of it, we let you buy equity in the house while you're renting it. That equity can then be applied towards a down payment if you want to buy the house back at any point during that time. Or you can walk away and get cashed out for that equity portion at any point. And so the real value of what we do is we give you the flexibility of renting with the wealth building power of home ownership. And we let you get into a house today if you couldn't traditionally access one through a mortgage. And I am in Oakland, California, so working from home.
Great. Vishal, do you want to jump in and let us know where you are? And, you know, I think many people are going to be familiar with Better, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I am here on my terrace. We're still working from home in Tribeca, down in Manhattan, with all the craziness that's taking place here in New York. Feels like we're somewhat removed from it all, so we're very, very thankful for that. But Better is the fastest growing home ownership company in America today. We're providing home finance to consumers, making it better, faster, cheaper for them to afford a better house in a better school district with a better commute. And the way we do that is by removing the bulk of the paperwork involved in the process, by automating the process, by closing faster, and by leveraging our network of 32 plus investors to have some of the highest approval rates and the lowest interest rates in the industry. We're doing about $1.5 billion a month now of mortgages, about 5,000 homes a month that we're financing every month, and that's grown about 4x in the past year, and we expect to triple that again in the coming 12 months.
Awesome. So just for context for the audience, you guys know I love to bring you companies that we think are kind of best in class. And I think Divvy and Better are two of the true best in class innovators in the financing space right now. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening with mortgage and financing in the country right now broadly, and then we'll drill down more into innovation in the space. But, what are you guys seeing broadly?
Well, I think what we're seeing in general is that a number of banks are pulling back. So we have banks like Wells Fargo, Chase, and others that have increased lending standards, have backed away from the business, that are basically saying, well, we might be going into a very, very deep recession post-COVID, and so they're taking off credit risk. And then a lot of the independent mortgage banks are pulling back because of capital concerns, because of the forbearance and delinquencies that have happened for consumers that have been impacted by COVID. They're really deeply concerned about the value of the assets that they already own. So we see sort of the worst of all worlds happening in terms of, consumers having limited supply, even if they're great credits, and really no supply at the bottom end of the market, but also at the high end of the market. So the jumbo borrower, a number of banks have pulled back from jumbo mortgages because of concern about where real estate prices will end up being. And I think that compounds the already significant effect that we've seen from people not being able to walk into a bank branch or a loan officer office and be able to talk through their issues with mortgages. So that's what we're seeing in general in the broad market today.
Yeah, so I'd probably just break that down into a few different areas. The first area is generally what happened with home buying when COVID hit. And what we saw was that home buying essentially just paused. Showing volume was down 50% and on average across America. In some places it was down almost 75%. Most folks weren't putting new listings up, but also inventory was holding because there weren't a ton of homes that were going pending. Despite this, because there wasn't a ton of volume, comps actually held up pretty well. So the price at which homes are being sold actually held remarkably well through the COVID period. So it's kind of from the home buying section. From the mortgage section, exactly what Michelle said, which is we're seeing lending requirements tighten and more people are looking towards other alternatives. I'd say kind of on the last piece, which is cultural, we're seeing actually a big migration from multifamily apartments out to single family homes. What we're just seeing in COVID is people want their own little space in the world and looking to purchase a home more now than ever.
Yeah. And one thing we talked about a little bit when we talked prior to this call was people have also faced some procedural challenges just in getting things closed during this period.
The procedural challenges are pretty significant. So we've had transactions where consumers had found the house that they wanted to buy, but the seller was afraid to let the appraiser in the house. Or where people are doing refinances, but some of the notaries and some of the offices, the county recording offices are closed. Or people are trying to figure out how to do remote notarization, but it's not actually legally valid in a number of states. So all of those challenges have only compounded the effect. Plus, lastly, refinance volume is through the roof. So a lot of people are focused on doing refinances, which are generally a little bit easier, less time sensitive. So if you already own the house, you already have the mortgage. If you refinance today versus, it getting delayed in 3 days, that's not such a big deal. But if you're trying to figure out all the stuff that has to happen in life around moving from one place to another, time changes can be a really, really big thing. Like, when do the movers come? When does, the guy who's going to fix the roof come? All that sort of stuff. So we've seen a lot of the transactional infrastructure that had been built around the real estate business that had, that basically time had forgotten. It's broken down now on us.
Yeah. So I think that's a beautiful segue to talking about what do we think is going to be different coming out of this period? I mean, I think a lot of things are going to be different in a lot of different aspects of our lives. How do you think financing is going to change?
So I would say I think folks are going to look for alternative sources of financing. It is harder today to get a mortgage than ever. what we're seeing at Divvy is that the average FICO of our customer base is increasing pretty significantly because they can't go to get a mortgage. Additionally, we track the percent of our customers who have had a mortgage decline, so have applied for a mortgage within the last 6 months and weren't able to get one. And what we're finding is that's actually increasing really significantly. So I actually think now, more than ever before, people, if they can't get a mortgage, they're going to go to Better Mortgage and hang out with Vishal. But if they can't, they're going to look for other alternatives with something like Divvy or moving even more towards a rental product in order to actually be able to access the home that they want.
And I also just jump in and say, you're a city girl when you hear the sound of like sirens in the background and you feel really
Yeah, this is not a pretend background. Yeah, totally. I think Divvy is a really smart alternative for renters compared to renting, because home, if you can still manage to get in at a 4% cap rate on with either a mortgage or with Divvy type financing on a home, and the landlord is earning 6 to 7%, that's just a huge thing. So having the option of owning is very big. I think there was a dialogue over the past 10 years that millennials were going to prefer experiences. They prefer an Airbnb experience to owning their own home. I think that is something that COVID has proven totally wrong. And what we're seeing actually out there is the desire to own your own home and realizing, your gram isn't your home, like where you actually live is becoming more and more important. We've seen the average age of someone getting a pre-approval letter on our house in our platform to potentially go to buy a house and finance it has gone down from 39 as of January 2020 to 35 as of May 2020. So you have to think about the average, right? So that just means there's a ton of people from the age of 27 to 32 who are coming into the market and thinking about buying a home more than ever before.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So that group not only now looking to home ownership, but also looking for probably a different type of experience in the way that they engage with, the financing process. Can you guys talk a little bit to what you think can and will be different in this space?
So I definitely think the way that you ultimately view and close a home is going to change pretty significantly. So I'd say, one, we're moving more towards virtual showings than we've ever seen before. We stayed open actually during the COVID period, and what we saw with our agents is there's a lot more going to a house, taking a video and sending it to your customer. Even during closings, we've moved with title companies who typically we always had to have a notary in person. You can actually do a Zoom notary nowadays, which is, really pushing the industry forward. And so I say there's those logistical things that just feel like they're fundamentally going to be different. I'd say there's the second issue of financing and home purchases, which is where our home price is going to go and where our rent's going to go. Home prices is a tough one. They've held remarkably well. What we saw during the Great Recession was that home prices were highly tied to unemployment rate, which if you extrapolate that to today, our unemployment rate is actually extremely high right now. That you would see that home prices are going to decline. However, you have to offset that with the fact that there's been a lack of inventory for the last decade, and we haven't had enough homes being put up for sale. So even if there's a lot of homes being put up for sale now, maybe the market could absorb that. So I think the first question that I constantly get from people who are thinking about buying a home is, where do we think home prices are going to go? And I think that it just depends on your assumption of how long the government continues to stimulate the economy, where unemployment goes, where the unemployment rate goes. Ultimately, what happens with coronavirus, right? And if we get a second wave or not. On the rental piece, I think that what we're seeing right now is rents have held relatively steady. We're seeing in some places multifamily rents are coming down, but single family rental prices have held more or less consistent.
Yeah, I would say.
I was going to say, I'd be particularly curious if you see beyond the age, just the profile of people trying to get mortgages with Better. Is that changing more broadly?
The profile is changing actually really interestingly. You're totally right. The profile is changing. There are all these people that previously were what we would call bank loyalists. I'm only going to do business with my bank. And their bank's closed for business. So if they want to do a refinance, they're coming to us. There are all these people that previously would only do business with their guy or gal that they knew their mortgage broker, but that person isn't able to fulfill because they don't have the technology, or they don't have the remote notarization, the appraisal, or they can't provide the rates as quickly. So I feel like what's happening is almost like that the future is being pushed forward much, much faster. And there was a whole contingent of the industry that said, well, yeah, the industry's changing, but I'm 57 years old, I'm retiring in 8 years, I'm just going to keep doing business my old way until I retire. And, like, the world's going to be different. Like, if you're you, Mr. 30-something person, are going to deal with this, not me. And now those folks are being forced to use it. It's kind of like, I remember my mom, when she realized that the only way to get a hold of me was not by calling me and leaving me voicemail, but like texting me. And so she eventually finally got an iPhone and started texting and doing all that stuff. And I think it's, we have these populations of the market that have chosen that are going to adopt. Secondly, I think there's just going to be this question of supply. There's going to be a lot of people, and I think you see this in Connecticut, you see this in in places like Westchester, you see it in Long Island. There are a lot of people who have retired who are holding on to houses that are just too big for them. They're too hard to maintain, and so on and so forth. I think there's got to be some innovation in financing there, or I think to be able to get them out of those houses and into these young families. Previously, a lot of them were holding on because the young families didn't want to live in Westchester or they wanted to live in Park Slope. And so I think there's going to be that occurring everywhere around the country, is re-suburbanization.
Really interesting. Guys, we're about to wrap up, but I'm wondering, a quick thought from both of you about, for the realtors in the audience, how you think the relationship for them is potentially going to shift with their clients around financing and what they need to be thinking about to stay relevant in this environment.
My biggest push is you've got to get creative. We're not living in the same world we were in 3 months ago. And your customers are dependent on you. They're dependent on you to be able to help them access a home, whether it's for a rental or for a home purchase. And I think that there is a hope that as their realtor, you're going to be able to look at the financing options and move away from just taking them to their traditional, Bank of America or community bank down the road, and instead starting to push them to do things like go online and apply for better, or look at Divvy as an option. And I think it's an important point to their job now, which is you are required to do more than just work with your traditional broker, but instead explore these new technologies.
It's interesting. It makes me think a little bit about iBuying and how that's, some people have capitalized on that opportunity by starting to offer potential sellers the option to look even at iBuying pricing. I think that we may be moving into a world for buyers where we should be offering them more of a smorgasbord of financing options. Michelle, I don't know if you want to jump in.
Totally. I think people want to know how much something is going to cost them, and they want to know instantly. And the mortgage industry is built around a traditional loan officer who, calls you with a quote and then calls you, one thing changes and has to call you 20 minutes later, and so on and so forth. And I think people are going to want to compare what's my monthly payment across 4 different houses all at the same time. And I don't think the industry is built for that. I think we have an industry that's going to be forced to change. We haven't had an event like COVID probably since the combination of the Vietnam War plus the OPEC crisis basically led to, a really cataclysmic sea change in what has happened. And the real estate industry has been built on what's happened in 1980 onwards, right, where interest rates have come down slowly like this from basically 18% to near 0%. And the economy's grown and everything's happened. Now we're going to go to this other thing. Consumer expectations are going to be changed, and all these consumers are coming into the market today. They have no memory of anything about the prior real estate experience. So it'll be interesting to see who the winners and losers end up being. But usually when you have volatility in any market, and this is through 6,000 years of humanity, the technologically superior counterparty is the one that emerges the winner in a volatile world.
Well, let's wrap with that idea that, it's good for everyone right now to be exploring all of the options that are available to them and their clients. Thank you guys so much. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having us. Appreciate it. Bye.
Thanks, Clelia.
All right. That man said the technologically superior are the ones that win in a volatile environment. So that means you better step, if you want to win, you want to survive, you better step your game up before you get conquered. What they talked about. So, you know, we had a partnership, and I guess we still have partnership with the company called homepartners.com. That's a company similar to Divvy. They don't offer the wealth building opportunity, but they do offer that component of if a person can't qualify for a mortgage, they could utilize this option to do like lease to purchase. They lease it, they find a house they want, then Home Partners buys it, leases it back to them, and then they have up to 3 years to buy it. So a way to kind of test drive and things like that. I know Home Partners has stopped buying. This is back in maybe April or May, but they may be back buying again since we see the iBuyers are buying again, and this company Divvy, they're buying. Now I will be interested to see if Divvy is down here in our market, because she mentioned being in the Oakland market, so it may be West Coast, but we'll see. But I do know Home Partners is in our market, and they're actively buying in our market. He talked about they are seeing large banks pull back. We already kind of knew that as far as the bank's criteria is going up on what they would qualify. So we see a shakeup there. It was interesting to know that his company better.com is doing 1.5 billion a month of production. So that's interesting to know. I also mentioned about the independent banks pulling back as well because of capital constraints. So there's a mix-up going on when it comes to the financing piece. So there may be opportunity there for you as a consultant to direct and steer people in a particular direction as it relates to getting them financed. And then she spoke about you have got to get creative. I 100% agree with that. We got to get outside of the realms of our box of saying this is the only way that we can get our outcome, right? If a person comes to us and the outcome they want is they have a real estate need, they want to buy a house, they want to sell their house, they want to rent a house, they want to rent an apartment, whatever their real estate need is, we got to look outside of what we become accustomed to or comfortable with to really identify and exert all options to help them get to what they want. Because guess what? When they get what they want, when you get them what they want, that's how you get compensated. That's how you show your value. All right, so that was a good session. And then look, you got to get your technology up, right? Technologically advanced comes out on top. All right, so the next one we're going to go into is to hear from the National Association of Realtors president. If you're a part of HAR, you're paying your dues, you need to know what you're getting with your membership, and you need to know how things are being impacted from that perspective as it relates to that. So we're going to, let me hear it up, and we're going to see what my man has to say to NAR. Now, remember, I have the chat on, so if you want to comment, you want to ask questions, you want to utilize any of that, that option is there, so we can take advantage of it.
Welcome, Bob and Margie. How are you?
Great. Thanks to be here.
I'm doing great. Thank you.
I feel like the two of you are old pros at this by now. I can only imagine how many hours you've spent in front of the camera in the last 90 days. And we talked a little bit last week as well. I want to really focus on, you know, I remember last year, the year before, there would be conversations with members say, you know, what is NAR? What is my state association doing for us, and so on. And I can't be more proud to be a member of NAR sitting here today because of the changes I've seen and just the massive the benefits that you have rolled out to our members. So can we touch on that and just talk about in general how you all have handled the last 90 days? Bob?
Sure, Bob, why don't you go first?
Yeah, sure. Well, I will tell you this, you know, certainly as I said the other day, you know, I'm going on nearly 3 years as the CEO of NAR. And I will tell you, there's not one guidebook that I have found yet on how to lead an organization in a pandemic. So myself, along with many other CEOs in this country, talk to each other, and I don't mean just in the real estate vertical, just anywhere nationally. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce 100, which is 100 top CEOs that talk regularly. And we're doing the things that make the most sense to engage our members. That has always been a challenge anyway when you have 1.4 million members. For me personally and our organization, we're very, very engaged in social media. We do lots of in-person meetings, but all that stops certainly with the in-person component. So we've been doing these kind of events, our own NAR events, Zoom meetings. I literally got off right before this, I was on with the South Carolina Association of Realtors Board of Directors. So we're actually finding that we're engaging more firsthand, being able to hear what our members are asking us, talking to us about. So in the end, it has actually been what I think is going to be the template for what our new norm is going to be when this pandemic subsides.
Margie?
And Bob makes a lot of great points. The one thing I've always admired about realtors is their ability to pivot in a time of crisis. And this is not the first crisis they have endured. In my career, I've seen issue after issue come up, and every time they come up with a solution. And they certainly did the same thing here. As an association, as we saw this all start to unfold at the end of February and the beginning of March, Bob and myself and our colleagues around the country, we immediately had to move to make sure that the products, tools, and services that we provide to the realtors across this country weren't interrupted. Because when you have practitioners who are all of a sudden being asked to work from home and work virtually, the tools and services that you give them to help them with their business could never have been more important. I look just at Florida and I look at our tech helpline and our legal hotline. They became two of the most popular phone numbers that our membership had. And these are free calls to our members here in Florida, where they were able to call and overnight, my tech analyst went from, answering a question about, why something was showing up on your screen one way, and now talking about what is the best setting on your computer for Zoom and what is the best camera to use. And, across the hall on our call center for our legal hotline, the questions went from, can I advertise this way? Can I do this to get a closing done? Can I rebate this amount? To how do I hold this deal together, knowing that the buyer or seller may have a crisis with regard to this virus. So myself and my colleagues around the country, we immediately looked at ourselves and said, you know what? Everybody go home. Everybody go home. Everybody ramp up your internet and do not allow these services to be interrupted. And we had historic highs to calls in our tech and legal hotlines, specifically related to the COVID-19 crisis. And it's been fascinating to watch, and I've spoken to Bob and my colleagues across the country about the tone of these phone calls, because they started sort of inquisitory. They were just kind of asking questions. What if? Are you seeing this? What if that happened? To, hey, this is a real serious conversation. Help me keep this transaction together. To, we've been told to stay at home and shut our doors, at least temporarily, and we're concerned about how that's going to impact our business. NAR was amazing in terms of their advocacy efforts, which you can talk about. So it was questions on the Paycheck Protection Program and the EIDL loans. And then it was to our vulnerable population, the pandemic unemployment. And now, amazingly, here in Florida, we've now transitioned back to transactional questions. We've moved away from that fear and that concern about what might be. But I mean, it's been an incredible 2.5 months.
I would have to agree, and Bob, I know that I wanted you to elaborate on the paycheck protection as well, but I also want to, because I feel like I wouldn't be doing the viewers justice if I didn't ask you. Do either of you, both of you, want to elaborate on what's going on? I just spent 45 minutes watching the news in between first session and this part. Do you want to talk about what's happening in the United States right now?
Sure. Look, it's a terrible situation that we're all living a part of, but this is not a new issue. It's been ongoing in our country for years. One of the things that we felt was important, and like many organizations, we put out a very important comment under Vince Malta, our president, but it was something that we felt very strong about and wanted to really make sure that we let America know, the folks in local communities, how important equality and fairness in housing is all about. I mean, that is what our mission is. And this is not a new mission for NAR and certainly our state or local associations or our members. What I feel really good about is that months ago, before all this situation started, we doubled down on fair housing. We brought in a director of fair housing right before the end of last year. We created a program called ACT, which I won't go into all the details, but it really deals with how do you make sure that the industry is better prepared. What can we do to make sure housing is at the forefront of everything? I met personally with Secretary Carson, with our leadership team at HUD, to say we're announcing all of these new fair housing programs. We wanted to make sure that we can be the voice of equality and fairness in housing. We didn't want there to be unconscious bias, which we know there is. So we're providing training programs out in the industry with top professionals to help us on this. We have to change the culture of the country in the housing arena. So this gives us actually another opportunity to also have a voice with consumers and with our members to say, despite the terrible situation and the unjust situation that has occurred and has been occurring, let's put our stamp on the important parts of the industry that we serve.
Thank you, Bob, for that. Margie?
I think he said it exactly, is, one of the things that have been going on between myself and my officers has been an in-depth conversation with regard to the fact that, Florida Realtors is a diverse family of business advocates. And we have always come together to support stronger communities. I think myself and my colleagues, we all stand united against racism, as is our entire membership. We have spent, tireless hours promoting fair housing across this country, and specifically here in Florida. And, I'm so proud of Florida Realtors in the fact that we really have had a long-term commitment to this. Specifically is we were one of the first state associations to have a diversity committee. And when you look at the events that are going on nationwide, it is so incredibly tragic. And as I have conversations with my own teenagers and explain how every one of us has not just the obligation to say something, but to do something, I look at what my management team has done that had been in the works way before all of this happened. Just last Thursday, in a virtual environment with hundreds of realtors, we held an event called Celebrating Your Roots and Growing Your Future. And it featured guest speaker Billy Deck, who is a nationally renowned expert on diversity. And it was just a fantastic presentation on empowering yourself because of who you are and where you're from. And I commend my colleagues across this country for stepping up and speaking up about this issue, and to the brokerage community and the realtor community as a whole. Realtors are so incredibly resilient, but there is also no group of people who care more about their communities.
And I appreciate you both touching on that as, the absolute top leaders in our industry. I've been so impressed about seeing the message that has been going out over the last, 48 hours. And personally, I'm in Houston. I told you all that last week. Bob Hale is my local leader, and just all of you working together to make sure that we're protected and we push towards more equality with the momentum that we picked up means so much to all members. Bob, I would love for you now, because I think it's just so great. Can we talk a little bit about the paycheck protection and how that fits in and how it was implemented?
Yeah, in fact, I think, and it's not just paycheck protection, it's all the federal programs that came out under the CARES Act. NAR has been a very strong force, one of the most powerful lobbying organizations in Washington. And it's not a matter of just sending letters out to people, but it also means the contacts that we have in both the House, the Senate, clearly on the legislative side with the administration itself, with regulatory agencies. We've met with the Treasury. We've met with the Secretary of Scalia at Labor, who I'm part of an inner core of 8 CEOs that meet with him regularly. We touched those contacts and said, look, we want to make sure we're the voice for independent contractors, because many of the programs that came out under the CARES Act and are still being worked on with another stimulus package that we've been engaged with the White House as well as with the Congress, are really for folks that weren't independent contractors. And so we said we needed to make sure that our voice was heard. So the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program, actually is going through another iteration. It was passed, I think it was 417 to 1 in the House, was approved by the Senate yesterday, and we expect the president to sign it today with another extension with it. There's greater forbearance in that program. There's additional dollars in that program. There's all kinds of components to that. But I think it's important, let me go back to where the independent contractor piece is. The Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, for example, NAR was the big voice for that, because we're the largest association with independent contractors. And I think all of our members know that traditionally you can't just file for unemployment. States don't allow that with the way our independent contractor status is. So we were the voice in Washington, and others joined us, fortunately, to be able to say, look, we need some relief for our members when real estate went 150 miles an hour to zero and everything stopped. What do we do about those independent contractors that depend on commissions to stay afloat, to feed their families, to keep their businesses and their doors open? So the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program is a federal program. Now again, unemployment insurance comes through the states. The PUA program is that program that we work very closely with the Department of Labor on. What it requires is that the states contract with the Department of Labor to be able to get access to the PUA funds. And then that way members can go through and say, look, here's my situation, here's what I need to deal with, and they file. Now all states work differently. Some states require you to file for regular unemployment, get turned down, and then file under the PUA program. But again, if you're not sure what to do there, check with your state unemployment and labor groups, and they'll tell you what to do. But every one of these programs, the SBA small loan programs, again, we represent exactly that, small businesses in this country. We represent independent contractors. We have commercial practitioners. You know, we got elements of the 1031 exchange program modified. If you go to nar.realtor/coronavirus, we actually update regularly, almost every day, changes and guidelines as to how the laws are impacting our members. And so that's a great resource to use. I know Margie and her state has done the same kinds of things. We work hand in hand at the state and the national level and the local levels to help our members.
Thank you so much for that, Bob. And we're going to have to wrap up soon. But Margie, I wanted to ask you on a state level, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
So the one thing I would encourage all states to do is make sure that you are in constant contact with your members with regard to safety. As the country is coming out of the shutdown orders and we're all starting to open up, Florida is no exception. We are going into phase 2 tomorrow, where our bars and our retail can go to 100% capacity tomorrow. There's obviously some concern about that, but it's also great news for the economy. So realtors came to us and said, hey, we're ready to show property in person again. How do we do that? Well, we were so incredibly fortunate that the Florida State Surgeon General contacted us and said, I need your help. I need your help in protecting the public. I need your help in protecting the realtors. So we were able to put out written guidance that he was able to review, create input, as well as ask us to post his website on this document. So when realtors are going out there, they have the opportunity to know that the highest medical professional in Florida, this is his advice. And so we're incredibly proud of that. I cannot iterate as much how amazing the collaboration has been through this crisis on the federal, state, and local level. Without my partners on both ends, we would not be in the position that we're in, where realtors feel confident that their businesses are resuming and they are back out there selling real estate and renting real estate. We have a lot of challenges in front of us, but I want to thank the national associations, as well as all of my local associations, for their partnership during this time.
Thank you both. I appreciate you all very much, and for representing the members to the greatest of your ability. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, I told you that would be great.
Thank you, Katie. All right, so we got another one in the books. So we see what your national association is doing. I think you should go to, while he was talking, I went to that nar.realtor/coronavirus, because if you are taking advantage of the funds that are coming down the pipeline. He did educate me on understanding the PUA funds. So if you are hesitant on filing unemployment, the federal government has allocated like $600 a week that you probably will qualify for being a realtor, but you got to go through TWC and go through the unemployment process to be able to access those funds. So whether they approve you or deny you for the state unemployment, you will be able to access the, I guess the PUA is what he said, which comes from the government. And that lasts up until the end of July. So it gives some additional resource to those that are having challenges as it relates to work and things of the sort. So I would encourage you to go through the Texas Workforce Commission, fill you out an application with unemployment to be able to access those funds because you're licensed. So take advantage of that. All right, let's get to the next session. Let's see. All right, so this next session, what we're going to be doing is NAR kind of funds some of the top technological companies. They kind of fund them and they back them. So what we're going to do now is look at the class 2020 of these organizations, these technology companies, to see how, what they have down the pipeline, what are they working on, and we'll see how they'll enhance our business as real estate professionals. Again, I got the chat open. If you got questions, you got comments, take advantage of it. We keep the conversation going. All right, so day 4, virtual real estate rerun. Let's keep it going.
And welcome to the Innovation Rally for the NAR Reach Class of 2020. My name is Laura Monroe. I'm the Global Head of Community here at Inman, and I'm also an NAR Reach Mentor, so I could not be honored anymore to introduce the NAR Reach Class of 2020 to our Inman community. The NAR Reach Class of 2020 is a class of brand new technology companies that are making traction within the industry right now, backed by the National Association of Realtors and created by Second Century Ventures. I'm super excited to introduce them to you today. And here we go. Welcome NAR Reach Class 2020.
Hello there, and thank you, Inman, for hosting us today. I'm here on the main stage with Brad Inman and Bob Goldberg. Actually, I'm here in my dining room in Greenville, South Carolina, working from home like the rest of us. I'd like to introduce you to Earnest. Earnest is how money moves in residential real estate. We've created a simple, secure, and compliant payment tool like Venmo or PayPal for the real estate industry. Earnest allows home buyers to securely and electronically deposit their Earnest money directly to their selected escrow holder. You know, millennials don't really use checks, and wire transfers are expensive and present increasing fraud risk. And real estate agents are way too busy to be driving around picking up and dropping off paper checks for Earnest money deposits. So we built Earnest, a simple, secure, compliant digital payment tool for realtors, brokers, escrow holders, and their home buying consumers. I'm Rick Altizer, CEO of Earnest, and we're how money moves in residential real estate. Thank you.
After 12 years in the real estate industry, I've been an agent, I've been a broker, and I've yet to ever hear an agent say, I love doing paperwork, I love scheduling inspections, I love managing deadlines. No, most agents hate those things. Most agents get into this industry because they love sales, they love real estate, they love chasing the next deal. And those are the agents that are using Transactly. My name's Brian Bowles, I'm the founder and CEO of that company. Transactly provides tech-enabled transaction coordinators to agents, teams, and brokerages across the U.S. On our platform, we're saving up to 16 hours per transaction. Backed by transparent technology, our coordinators are managing things like reviewing and chasing down paperwork, they coordinate inspections, manage deadlines, and much more. That's 16 hours that agents would otherwise spend on growing their business. We found we're inherently saving time for brokerages as well, when it comes to managing compliance and paperwork for the agents that use Transactly. Transactly works with any back office or transaction management system you're already using. We have over 90 transaction coordinators on our platform and growing, spread throughout local markets, with the ability to manage transactions currently in all 50 states. check us out at transactly.com, and please step in and meet and chat with us virtually in the expo hall.
Solar, wind, timber, cell phone towers, oil and gas, all need access to your client's land. How can you help your clients get these lucrative deals and earn a commission for yourself? RealX. RealX is the nation's first and largest exchange to transact property rights. We have over 6 million acres registered in the exchange today. That's roughly the size of Massachusetts. Now, each of you has the ability to register your client's land in RealX as well. You know landowners that have 20 acres or more, maybe even thousands of acres. You know commercial building owners that have 30,000 square foot of rooftop for solar. This is a $50 billion marketplace that has gone largely untapped by real estate professionals. Our buyers search the database every day, making offers to you and your clients. They love it because they no longer have to send postcards, cold call, or put feet on the street knocking on doors. Your clients will have an advantage over their neighbors by being registered in RealX through you. Help your clients generate additional income from their property, generate additional commissions for yourself, and get started with absolutely no upfront fees. We are RealX. Find us at realx.io or connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Luke Glass. Thank you.
Have you ever had a real estate deal fall through because of a home inspection? Well, after 15 years of selling real estate, I got tired of the inconsistent process that happens after a home inspection occurs. So 3 years ago, we decided to start PunchList. PunchList works exclusively with real estate agents to handle all the repairs off a home inspection in order to get you to closing. We focus on speed by offering you a 24-hour turnaround on all estimate requests. We focus on communications by providing you a dedicated success manager so you have one point of contact. And we offer you a turnkey service so you can do what you do best, and that's sell real estate. No more chasing down multiple contractors for quick estimates and quality repairs. And the best thing about this, your clients can pay us at closing. It's easy to get started. Visit punchlistusa.com, upload your home inspection, upload your repair list, and let PunchList knock it out from there. My name's Jimmy Banis, the co-founder of PunchList. Close faster with PunchList. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Matthew, Chief Product Officer at Igloo Home. At Igloo Home, we're proud makers of award-winning smart door locks and lock boxes. They help homeowners and businesses manage their properties in a simple, safe, and smart way. Our products can help you enable contactless self-showings and rental experiences. There's no more operations hands in key exchange anymore. You can now avoid physical contact and today's need for social distancing. Right from our mobile app, you can send PIN codes and Bluetooth keys from wherever you are to your guests and visitors. Our unique algorithm technology makes this possible with secure encryption and time synchronization. With this, you can grant access remotely, enjoy enhanced security, and track property access at your fingertips. This allows you to manage your properties and businesses with greater efficiency and peace of mind. Please drop me a question if you have any, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. Thank you very much.
Hi, it's Jason Harris. I'm CEO of CardinalFront, and historically, flood risk has been a real major problem for realtors. It's confusing, it's time-consuming, it can put a brick on a deal. And the reality is 41 million homes right now are at high to medium risk and don't have any coverage for flood insurance right now. And that's why we started CardinalFront, to make it simpler and easier for the realtor to access information that they need to understand flood risk and flood insurance. We built a technology platform that integrates directly into the MLS. It provides free one-click access to directional flood quotes, and then a bunch of educational resources for the realtor and for the home buyer. And best of all, we've wrapped the entire thing around a gold service promise regarding customer support. It's bilingual, comes with a lot of information, both in written form as well as online training through our YouTube portal. So if you have interest in learning more about CardinalFront, you can visit us at our digital booth or cardinalfront.com. Thank you for taking a moment with us today.
Hi, my name is Max Misiani, co-founder of Kangaroo, a home security company. We were founded by a couple of ex-Googlers to make home security more affordable for everyone. Technology has evolved to the point where we can now have home security systems. The problem is that they haven't been affordable and they've been really complex. Right now, we're living in a world where home security is more crucial than ever, but only 20% of households in the US have it. At Kangaroo, we've launched an entire security system that can be installed in 5 minutes for less than $100 with a $10 a month professional monitoring fee optional. One product that we're launching right now as part of that is a doorbell camera, and I'm really excited about this. This is a $20 camera, and it optionally includes a $2 a month package theft protection plan. These are great things for closing gifts and tools to monitor listed property. At Kangaroo, we're really excited to do our small part to make home security available to everyone. Thank you.
Hello, this is Howard Tager, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ylopo. Ylopo is a complete digital marketing platform that gives agents and brokers the most scalable, efficient, and transparent way to grow their business and teams. Best of all, Ylopo is a 100% done-for-you online marketing and advertising solution, so you don't have to worry about building your own technology or becoming a digital marketing expert, allowing you to focus entirely on the rest of your real estate business. We believe that agents, teams, and brokers need a different model for lead generation, lead nurture, and lead communication that provides better cost per closed marketing returns than what is currently available, and actually promotes and puts your brand first, not the brand of another company. If any part of your business is built on digital marketing, we know that we can give you the marketing technology that even the biggest companies in real estate don't have. It's funny, I always get asked, what the heck does Ylopo mean? Ylopo is the last 5 letters of the word monopoly spelled backwards, signifying how we're helping teams and brokerages turn the ultimate game of real estate on its head to create a different and better world for our partner clients. I'd like to personally invite you to visit with us and learn more about our world, the Ylopo world. Thanks for listening.
I think it's my favorite thing, watching everyone do their videos, because they're so creative. Also,
I have been embarrassed to ask everyone how to pronounce Ylopo, because I've been going around saying it really fast.
All right, I couldn't figure out how to pause, Katie. All right, so you guys got some exposure to some things that are down the pipeline. I was able to kind of have my ears turned up a little bit on some of the products that were shown. You know, that Earnest app may come in handy as far as working with your clients, as far as getting earnest money transfers, so you're not having to drive all over Houston to visit with them. So that's something to take a look at. The Transactly piece, you know, one of the things that I really talk about is having those 3 sections of building a sustainable realtor business. And you got to have processes and systems in each one of those sections. So when you're looking at Transactly, that's something that you could add to that service transaction management stage, coordinate with them as a company, and maybe they could manage that side for you, right? You know, the RealX piece, where if you have circumstances, if you have clients that have land, you have clients that want community rights, to have a digital platform where that stuff can be exchanged. I thought that was cool too. The punch list piece, I know sometimes we pick up listings and the clients need to do some work to have access to a contractor. Now again, we're trusting that these companies operate in our region or in our city. They may not. But the punch list piece, you can do the inspection, send them the inspection, and they do the repairs on it, and then you pay them at closing. That's a great resource to have in your tool belt. Then they talk about the smart door locks and lock boxes. I don't know how that's going to relate as far as with Super, because I know we had some stuff with that. And then the flood insurance piece, go to that website and see what information they have, especially down here in Houston. We get that question a lot as far as if it's in a flood zone, flood insurance. So it seems like that website may have information that we can offer to our clients concerning that. And then the home security company, Kangaroo, and then Ylopo. Ylopo, complete digital marketing platform. Again, we got those 3 stages, right? So we got that lead generation, handles your marketing, your prospecting, the thing that you're going to do to attract the prospects to you. And that's where YLOPO would fit in your creation of your sustainable realtor business. It will fit right there as well. So to answer your question, Margaret, I don't know what the website is. He didn't put a website up there, but the company is Earnest. I think it's spelled EARNNEST. So you might can Google that. And then Merle talked about the video. No worries. Like I said, we're going to work on packaging them. Next week, we're going to package all 4 days together. Well, not all 4 days, do 4 videos, but we're going to package them and put them in a playlist on our YouTube channel. So once that's done, I'll make sure we get that link to you, and then you guys can have access to all the videos. All right, with that being said, we are on our last session of the virtual real estate rerun. Oh no, it's almost over. It's almost over, but I think it was phenomenal. I'm gonna ask you guys to give me some feedback once this last session is over with, as far as what y'all thought, and be honest, be candid, because we're always looking to grow, we're always looking to build, and the only way that we can really do that is have true feedback that we can build upon. So, but let me go ahead and plug in this our last session for the day, and then we'll be wrapping this thing up. So let's jump in.
Well, thank you, Brad and Inman team, and congratulations for hosting the industry's first major virtual event. I'm Paul Boomsma, President and CEO of leading real estate companies in the world, and our membership represents 565 market-leading, independently branded local and regional brokerages in over 70 countries. Today, I'm proud to interview Matt Ferrara. I've known Matt for a number of years, and his philosophy is simple. Brokers and agents need to forget about the past and learn what works in the present to meet the needs of today's consumer. Matt is a popular industry speaker who also serves as my Dean of Innovation for the Leading RE Institute. Matthew offers leadership training, management coaching, and instruction on modern sales and technology skills. Matt, when you agreed to do this session, I don't think anyone would have predicted what the world has seen transpire over the last 90 days. I think it's safe to say that we're at an inflection point in our society as well as our industry. And what impact has all this had on our future?
Well, thanks for having me, Paul, and thanks to the Inman team. Kudos on a great week, and also to everyone who has attended. It's just nice to see all these great minds coming together and doing our best for the industry, which is the same as doing our best for our society. It's just how this industry is so integrated into the fabric of things. And Paul, your question is, it's huge, and it's certainly one of those questions that I think we're all dealing with in our own ways individually, but as an industry, we also have an opportunity to address them. I think that when we say the words like inflection point and we say the words like change, we often have associated them with good things in the past, and right now we're struggling with associating them with, real negative challenges. Obviously a health pandemic, significant unrest in our society, problems that we have failed to confront in the past, and we're now, I'm confident we will confront. I believe that this is the time. But I think that on its surface, the very first thing that I believe we're already experiencing is what I would call a flight to quality, but a special quality. It's what I call the flight to quality of life. I think that people are using this time, whether it's just being at home and being surrounded by family, or looking at all of the massive changes to their personal and professional lives, as an opportunity to sit and reevaluate, to ask ourselves, what's really important to us? What matters? What is the purpose of our role in our communities and in our economy? And I think in a lot of ways, ask questions about what we really want out of our careers and our personal lives. I think it's given us a chance to maybe appreciate some things even more than ever before, appreciate our friendships, appreciate the safety and the opportunity that we do have, while recognizing that there's tons of work to be done in making sure everyone has can have those experiences as well. And I think that little things are starting to appear in terms of how we are pursuing this new perspective and flight to quality. One of them is just frugality. I mean, I just think that people are starting to look around and said, you know, maybe I have to rethink the constant quest for having more stuff, whether that's doing more deals in our business, or whether it's having 30 pairs of shoes, or whether it's, you know, I saw on television the other day an ad for Maxwell House coffee, which I thought, you know, gosh, Maxwell House was born, I think, in the Second World War, right? I mean, the idea of like a can of coffee as a sort of frugal thing in an era where, you know, before we were throwing $10 bills out the window for coffees at drive-thrus. I kind of see this all coming together, and I think it's not only about economic frugality. I also think it's about frugality in our relationships. Maybe we will look at all of our friendships and our peerships at work and our neighbors, and we'll say it's more important to have deeper, better relationships than to have, I don't know, 10,000 of them or 10 million of them that we really just don't know, but somehow we were chasing them in the world before the last 6 months. So I do think this flight to quality of life is an interesting new perspective we're all going to see penetrate how we live and how we work.
That's awesome. Really interesting, Matthew. You know, one of the things so many of us are dealing with, obviously almost everyone on this call, is working from home, which also means no commuting. How do you think that shift has changed our view of our homes and our real estate needs in general?
Well, without a doubt, I think we're all learning some interesting things about our economy and our capabilities. For starters, we're learning that it's quite possible to be very effective working from home. I think that's a surprise for many businesses, not just in our own industry, but in other industries. I've talked to a lot of senior vice presidents and CEOs that I mentor, and you know, some of them weren't necessarily work from home advocates before this, and some of them are confronting the real positive aspects, you know, that productivity in some cases is as good, if not better. For the real estate industry particularly, I think that creates a unique opportunity, because I think we are going to reevaluate what's important in a home, how space is defined, how it's laid out, certain features like a home office, or having just space where people can be quiet or alone as well as together. So I think home will get a little refresher, if you will, renovated, our definition of what it means for home. But I think it also will impact things like commuting and whether we choose to live where we choose to work. It could be quite possible that we'll see mobility increase in the next decade as a result of people saying, I would prefer to trade more space or maybe some different location than necessarily proximity, because I might not have to take the subway, or I'm not willing to trade an hour each way every day in my life to sit in traffic. Again, we go back to quality of life decisions. The good news is that with all this technology, we're learning that maybe it is possible to work for a company that's located in a major city, but to live in, you know, the countryside or the mountainside or the seaside and be just as effective and just as productive, but maybe trade having some more space or even just a better overall pace of life. I think this is also just good for jobs in general. It means that large companies can look throughout America and look for talent, and this might help people who don't live necessarily next to the tech boom or next to some, you know, whatever the industry might be. It might help them actually secure jobs in places that aren't necessarily tied to their local economy or their state economy, as we as a society get very comfortable with working at any distance.
Terrific. I think that's really good news to a lot of folks. I know that some of our housing inventory that's been kind of looked at as being a little obsolete is some of the larger homes, some of the McMansions that had bonus rooms and things like that, and those really weren't being perceived as current for today's buyer. So I think this actually gives them a little new hope. And that's a nice change. You're saying our traditional location might be getting modified. It's more of a location and lifestyle, since the homes are no longer just in bedroom communities and close to your place of work, but could be in a location that, like as you were saying, outside of an urban area that will be better for the rest of your life. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, I think there'll still be 3 L's. We used to say location, 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 but when you think about it, those L's just might get redefined as a result of everything that's happened in the last 6 months. It might end up being location, lifestyle, and actually leadership. And the way that I think of that is that real estate has always occurred at a very special place in people's lives. It's really not about what people get when they buy or sell a home. It's who they become that matters, right? They become the person who has finally earned the home that they wish to have, or they've become the person who has achieved a certain career stage, or is retiring and is celebrating a career well lived. So, real estate occurs, as I've said in the past, at the corner of life and change, right? So that's where we show up as real estate professionals. Now, the good news about that is that we're helping people move to the next chapter of their lives, and that will always be the case. It's why real estate will always be such a wonderful and vibrant place to work. But when we think about it, we start to ask ourselves, well, if location is only one part of the equation, if the lifestyle that people want to lead and the leadership, meaning the community they want to be involved in, the place in which they want to play the role as an entrepreneur, to get involved in everything that's involved in being in real estate. It's not just homes, it's being involved in politics, it's being involved in philanthropy, it's being involved in advocacy, it's being involved in all of these different things. I think what happens is that people might actually look at their choice for real estate and where they live and where they'll work and say, I think a larger equation is at play. And now let's go back to the issue of if they're not spending 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week, 3 weeks a year commuting, maybe they now have time to be more involved in their society, to be more involved in politics, in making change, in making a difference, not just buying a home. And so now what happens is real estate actually gets so tied up into the fabric of societies. It always has been, right? It's always impacted schools, it's always impacted local business, etc. But now real estate really becomes an engine of progress and an engine of change. And it means the real estate professional adds that third L, that leadership element to it. So people will tell us a little bit the lifestyle they want and location, but then they'll look to us and say, but I also want a place where I can make a difference, where I can be engaged and involved, and not just go to work and not just, sit at the pool on the weekends. I'll do some of that, I'm sure, but I also want a place where I can make a difference. So I really think that, real estate and society are so intertwined, and we're going to see the role of the real estate professional, I think, be elevated even to a degree that we hadn't quite anticipated in the past.
That's very interesting. And, technology, you're exactly right. It's made all of this working from nearly anywhere possible. But with those technological advancements, how do you see that this is going to relate to the actual home sale and purchase process?
Well, the coolest thing, to be quite frank, is that technology is our middle name in real estate, right? So when you think about it, this is the most adaptive industry that I know of in the economy. I mean, I've been in this business for 30 years, and, everyone likes to somehow perceive that technology has happened to us. No, technology has happened by us. This industry grabs onto technology and pushes it and tries to make it do even more than what it could do. It's fascinating to watch, when a new technology is introduced. Not only do real estate professionals say, okay, I get what it can do, but they almost immediately say, and can it do this, and can it do this, and can it do this? So that's kind of cool about us as an industry to begin with. But more importantly, I think that technology is now perceived as a way to help consumers get ahead of their needs. And what I mean by that is something like this. Currently, we're looking at, I think, some emerging technologies that substantially change the equation. It's not about servicing consumer needs. I think it's turning into anticipating consumer needs. So let me give you a couple of quick examples to make this simple. First of all, think about simple possibilities like signage, right? So currently, real estate signs are all about real estate that is for sale, number one. And number two, it's designed for someone who might drive by or walk by and see it. But what happens when signage simply becomes a feature of every GPS-enabled device that we have? What if our devices have apps on them in which we've put preferences about where we like to eat and where we like to work and where we like to sit and read a book and where we like to walk when we have time to walk? And now that app is really us-centric, it's people-centric, and it's constantly listening through GPS to the neighborhoods, and not only for property that we might have walked by and seen the sign, so property we haven't seen, property that's not yet listed even could be there as well, because the apps can start to anticipate. You know, maybe we've even told these apps, and we've told our real estate professional things like, gosh, I would always love to have lived in that building, lived in that neighborhood, etc. Well, it could even be that these apps start to create anticipation. It's no longer about search. It's almost about pre-matching and pre-thinking for the consumer. And so we're presenting opportunity to consumers. We're not just servicing opportunity when they present us with a need. I think that that will not only expand options for people to buy and sell property, but it will bring a new vitality to this industry. An anticipatory industry is going to be a lot less subject to supply and demand shocks, and will even help create opportunities where we're letting demand decide what inventory should come into the market, as well as supply, give it hints that people are in the area, just, not even necessarily searching just yet, but they're in the area and they have a profile, they have needs that we can easily tap into to encourage people to bring their property into the marketplace. So, I mean, I look at this technology and I think that, we're on the cusp of changing the equation a little bit. I think we're on the cusp of changing it from a service to an anticipatory. And what's nice about that is it makes it even more consumer-centric, but it also makes the real estate professional even more valuable, because this technology will surface these opportunities and it will take that time away from the real estate agent having to do that, and instead free them up to make the opportunities turn into success, turn those opportunities into closed deals.
That's terrific, Matthew, and I think a very positive look to our future. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the past 2 weeks have delivered a harsh look at the reality of the world we live in. Many of us that were in New York in January were already shocked to hear firsthand the fair housing investigation and violations that were presented during that Connect. However, the past 2 weeks have shown that this is not just about fair housing. It's a much bigger societal issue. What are your thoughts on the next steps on how to correct and move forward to heal this situation?
Well, Paul, this is, I think, almost full circle with where we just started our conversation. I do believe this is an inflection point, one that's revolving around the concept of quality of life. And it's a time for us to stop and consider and make sure that the answer is a quality of life for everybody at all times. I mean, look, as a philosopher, I'm always looking at sort of the deeper meaning in the things that we do. And all of work is an act of philosophy. And real estate inhabits a really special place in the world because we're intimately connected.
Uh-oh.
With where people work and live and play and raise families and grow personally. And all of that is about social issues and social opportunity. So real estate's always been alongside social change. We've always been right next door to all social change. And the interesting part is, in that existence, we've already done so much good work. Fair housing itself, advocacy in so many diversity markets. I think about the organizations like the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, ARIA for Asian Real Estate Professionals, NAREB. I look at NAGREP. I look at all the different things, women in leadership, and I say to myself, gosh, the real estate industry is already at the forefront of so much of this social change as well. And since we're good at change, because we're trained in just our business to listen, to be fair, to try and find a solution in which everybody can be successful. It's not about win or lose, us or them, right or wrong, but good for all. I think that we are going to recognize an even greater positive role for us in real estate. We've been doing this all along, and I think now what we're maybe seeing is that we're going to be called upon to do it even more. And let me just say this. This is not just something, that I have sort of made up or tried to rationalize into the circumstances around me. For the last 30 years, this is what every great leading real estate company in the world has shown me how they operate. Whether it is independents worldwide, people with franchises worldwide, small companies, big companies, every company I've had the privilege of working with, every person who calls himself a real estate professional, who's part of any of these organizations, who wears the realtor R, we've always led by trying to not just make money, but to do good. And it's something I learned from my mentors, David Horowitz, from you, from people who have taught me so much along the way, that in our special role in the real estate industry, because we help people walk across the street where they were standing at one corner of life to the other corner of change, this is really our fight to lead. This is really our opportunity to make change a reality. And to be honest with you, I'm so positive about the future, so optimistic about it, because you and me and everyone on this call and everyone within the sound of our voice, we've been doing it all along. And as a result, I think this is a time in which we're going to see great positive change happen. And I think it's time for us to be the leaders of that change.
Well, Matthew, thank you so much. These were some inspiring words, some wise words as always. And now let's take it back to Katie. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Matthew.
Hey, everybody. I'm back. You're not.
Thanks, Katie. All right. So that is it. That wraps it up for our virtual real estate rerun. We've gone through 4 days of the top 15 sessions from the the Inman Connect Now virtual real estate conference that was held a couple of weeks ago. So great information, great content. Like I said earlier, I'm going to take the 4 videos, going to package them, put them in a playlist. So we'll be able to get that information out to you guys. So you'll be able to go back, check out the videos that you like, hear a little bit more. And if you have questions, you can definitely reach out to me about it. So with the remaining time that we have left, I would love to hear some feedback from you all that have attended, as far as what you gained from this, as far as the flexibility. Is it something that you would be desiring to do again? We keep doing more of this. How did you all feel about it? This?
I feel really good about it. It was some really great information.
Merle, hold on, might be me.
Okay.
Let me see. All right, Merle.
Yeah, can you hear me?
No.
That's not me this time.
Still don't hear you.
Want me to type it out?
All right, Merle, say something.
Can you hear me?
No.
Not me.
Thought we fixed it, Merle, but go ahead and type it in the chat.
I'll type
I see
it.
what Margaret has put in. What about Shay? You have anything? Geraldine, you have anything? All right, so Margaret says she's gonna look into Ernest. All right, what about the time frame, it being from 11 to 1, the ease of being able to log on? How was that? Give me some feedback on any of that. Oh, Margaret says she can hear Merle. I wonder why I can't hear her. Okay. Easy to log
Still
in,
can't
good
hear me?
time frame. Okay. The days of being able to log on and do this virtually is great. All right, awesome. How could we improve? How can we improve upon it? Or enhance it? Improve the sound. What does that mean?
Hi, Michael. This is Geraldine.
Sorry, improve the sound. Okay. All right, so improve the sound. All right,
Yes,
thanks, Margaret. Geraldine is talking. I don't hear her. I don't know. There's something going on with my side. Let me try something. All right, let me see if I do this. Information provided is on time and definitely relevant to not only the ever-changing real estate industry, but relevant to the current climate. Perfect. Thank you, Shay. All right, let's try to talk now. I'm gonna pull this microphone now. Maybe that'll do it. All right. Now talk.
Hello, Mike.
There we go. All right, now I can hear.
Okay.
Merle, can you say something? Merle, Geraldine.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I can.
Okay. That was your bedrock computer. I'm just playing.
It was this USB thing that I use for my microphone.
Oh, okay, okay.
Hearing you.
I was saying that, you know, although I've been in real estate for like 15 years, I just kind of feel like I'm brand new as far as needing to be a little bit more technologically savvy. I just, and sometimes I feel like, oh my God, I'm being overwhelmed, but I'm really not. It's just my way of learning. And I like the part where the guy was saying it's more of a flight to quality of life, which is true. It's pretty much evaluating yourself and seeing what you're good in and what you're not good in, and how you can work upon bettering yourself and improving in a lot of things.
Absolutely.
You know, so that was my insight on that. And I really think that this 4-day of coaching / video reruns, I think it was awesome. It was good timing for me as well. And I'm ready to just make it happen.
Awesome, man. That's great feedback. Merle, I appreciate that. All right. Okay, so Geraldine's typing. Can you talk? You can talk now, Geraldine. I fixed it. I fixed the problem. Let's see. So Geraldine says, she thinks the information provided was very informative and well necessary. The 4 days was a lot for her, considering that she had other things going on. However, she made it happen. That's right, Geraldine. And Geraldine, I'm working on in persuading her to sign up for our affiliate program, because I think that she'll get a lot from being connected to our empowering environment as one of our affiliate members. So Geraldine, come on, man, let's make that happen. We get it done for you. But I definitely appreciate you taking advantage, spending time with us over these last 4 days. Anybody else have anything to share before we wrap it up?
Will this be a yearly occurrence?
You know what? Like I said, I called it the Virtual Real Estate Rerun Volume 1. So just to leave opportunities for a Volume 2, 3, 4. I think it really just going to depend on what comes down the pipeline, things that information that we get. And then if we see that it's relevant, then we'll probably get some more. And it may be next year, or it may be something this year. So we'll see.
Okay.
What else? Anything else?
Oh yeah, Michael. You know when the guy mentioned the camera, that was it kangaroo?
Kangaroo for the door camera.
Yeah. Yes. Where is that? Is that here in Houston? Where is that located?
That what we'll do, cause so that what was it called? The Tech Reach. So that is kind of like the National Association of Realtors putting their seal of approval on different technology companies. So what they gave us was, I guess, their current 2020 class of companies. So that kangaroo piece, what I would recommend is I jotted down information, but I would just kind of Google kangaroo security and see what comes up and see if it is, because it's not a guarantee that all of those companies will service our area, because those, this was a national conference.
Okay.
Makes sense. Let's see, will you be able to receive CE credit from the conference? So no, unfortunately, we'll not be able to receive CE credit from the state because we do have a providership to where we are able to offer CE credit, but you have to get the classes approved. So I would have had to get this class approved, and we literally got this thing out over a matter of a couple of weeks, so I wouldn't have had enough time to get it approved for CE. But I am currently working on a class for continuing education that I think is going to be phenomenal. It's going to deal with time mastery. So that's really coming down the pipeline, and you'll be able to get a substantial amount of CE credit. It looks like it's going to be like a class over a 10-day period. You may end up being able to get up to 20 hours of CE credit.
What?
Yes, I'm going through the elective process now to get it approved for TREC. Yep. All right, what else we got? That it?
I think that's it.
Look at Shay. Shay talking about bring it. Absolutely. It is about to be brought. I'm telling you. And this class is gonna be life changing. I've been egging Margaret on for a while about it. But I really, every time I look at it and as I continue to work on it, man, I get more and more excited because I know it's gonna be definitely a game changer for you.
Yes, it is. I'm definitely going to need some time management. I already spoke to you about that. I'm all over the place, along with moving as well. I'm moving. Yep. I'm just all over the place. It's just ridiculous, and I notice it. You know, I'm like, oh my God. Well,
the reality, Merle, is it ain't just you. It's all of us. I've been all over the place. I've been, so it's a completely different mindset. It's all about mindset change. So it's not really. Yeah, there are going to be some strategies and techniques and things like that, but everybody got a new technique. Everybody got a new strategy when it comes to to-do lists and time management and all of that. This class is really about changing the way you think about it and changing your mind around it as far as outcomes and what's really important and kind of going after those things. And then as you back into the actual activities that you're going to do as it relates, there's a different level of alignment that's going to come from you changing the way you think about it. So it's going to be a really powerful class.
Okay. Yep. Thanks again.
Oh man, my pleasure. I love doing it. All right, well, that's about it. We went through the 4 days. We got the great content. You guys gave me excellent feedback. It's Father's Day. Treat your fathers well. Treat them nice if they're still here with you. Appreciate them. My kids are taking me camping, so I'm about to wrap this thing up, get out of here, and get ready to go on my camping trip, spend time with my family. But I really appreciate you all taking advantage of this and spending time with us, and I trust that you got a lot out of it. I know I did.
Okay. Have a good time.
Oh, man, I'm going to have a blast. I promise you I am. I'm going to have a blast. All right, you guys enjoy. We'll talk soon. And this is the day 4 finale of our first ever virtual real estate rerun, Volume 1. It's in the books, it's in the wraps. We had a great time, and we'll be talking to you soon. Have a phenomenal one. Have a phenomenal one.